In this video for PokerNews.com, Brad Owen gets Jiggities. Let's see how this works out for him.
Pick up pocket Jiggities in the big blind about half past midnight. Under the gun +1, takes a gander at his cards. He likes them, just not enough to raise this time. He limps in for 40. The player on his left is next to act. He raises to 200, presumably to isolate the limper. This hand is set up somewhat similarly to the pocket tens hand when I got 4-bet jammed on for piles. Effective stacks are slightly deeper in this one, making it less likely that someone would rip it on us if I re-raise.
Just to confirm, we are $13,200 deep. Facing a $200 raise, I think we are playing with a 40 effective big blind / straddle. So, 5 big blind raise. Here we go.
I 3-bet to 800 to let people know what's up.
Good.
Under the gun +1 gets the hint that he doesn't have the best hand. He folds. Under the gun +2 isn't quick to make a decision. A fold from him would be fine. Instead, he 4-bets to 2,400. It's another awkward spot for me. Should I call this bet for 1,600 more? Should I fold? Should I jam? Guys, don't get too hung up about the correct decision. There's no right way to play this hand. It doesn't matter. I call for 1,600 more, knowing that almost all the flops are going to be difficult to navigate.
All right, no right way to play Jiggities, am I right? So, if we were playing a smaller stakes game, and you're not Brad Owen, who films hands and people want to get on YouTube against, I'm not going to say you should fold this immediately, but it's probably just okay, because most people who raise over the initial limper and then 4-bet in small stakes games that are not going to make them YouTube famous, they are just going to have the nuts. So what are the nuts? The nuts are aces, kings, queens, and ace-king. Maybe not ace-king, maybe not queens. Sounds very straightforward, I know. If the range is literally aces, kings, and queens, and ace-king suited, jacks is in terrible shape, and you should just get out of the way immediately from out of position. That said, we are playing 10-20, maybe 10-20-40, and our opponent's good and competent. Good, competent opponents will mix it up with hands like ace-x suited. Maybe some king-x suited if they're getting frisky. If you study good, strong GTO strategies for deep stack cash games, you will see that the 4-betting range is going to contain some bluffs. Now, will the opponent actually do that? It's tough to know, but I presume this player, given Brad says that this player is good, will get in there and mix it up some portion of the time. So, call and see the flop.
We're heads up out of position with 5K in the middle. The dealer puts out 10-6-5 with 2 spades. Is it a good one for us? No way to really know. Maybe we're ahead of our opponent's ace-king. Maybe we're in terrible shape. I check to the preflop aggressor. I imagine that he'll be betting whatever 2 cards that he's got.
He should be betting whatever 2 cards he has, because his range in the spot is probably aces, kings, maybe queens, ace-king, probably suited, maybe offsuit, and then some suited aces, some of which will have flush draws, right? And then he can mix that in with a few bluffs with just total nonsense, like ace-4 of hearts or whatever.
Stack to pot ratio is just over 1. The opponent significantly down bets to 1,600.
This is essentially just pushing a range advantage in this scenario, because Brad probably doesn't have too many aces and kings in his range, because he would very often put in the 5-bet. So, because the opponent's overpairs crush Brad's overpairs, this player gets to bet frequently and small.
We don't have a spade in our hand. There's only one great turn card for us. The board is likely only going to get worse. For that reason, I'm inclined to jam, but I'll probably only get called by overpairs or ace-king or ace-queen of spades, which is doing pretty well against our pair anyway. I'm just going to take this one street at a time and try not to worry too much about what'll happen in the future. I call, leaving myself with 47-20.
Seems reasonable. I mean, look, shoving can't be that bad because the stack to pot ratio is very short, as Brad said. That said, I think calling and then looking to fold on bad turns, like overcard spades or an ace or a king, is probably going to be the ideal play here.
We're in a pot approaching 5-figure territory. It's massive. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, putting another flush draw on the board. I check. Just maybe, the opponent will check back and give up with an ace-king type of hand. It's extremely tense. Under the gun +2 is soaking as much airtime as possible, while he decides whether or not he wants to jam or see a free river card. My hand is basically face up. I'll occasionally have pocket tens. Sometimes I'll have aces or ace-king suited, but mostly I'll have queens and jacks. The opponent is a good player who knows the types of hands that I'll have, yet he grabs a 5K flag and slowly places it in front of him. It's a bet that has me barely covered. There aren't that many combos that I'm beating. The opponent's range only consists of semi-bluffs and hands that have me drawing to 2 outs. The main thing I'm considering is how big the pot is compared to my stack. I'm getting nearly 3 to 1 on a call. If the opponent has an overpair to my jacks, I can live with getting stacked that way. I'll chalk it up to a cooler. I toss in a calling chip. The opponent isn't exactly overjoyed, but I still don't know if we're ahead or not.
What would you have done in that spot? Would you have found the call with the Jiggities? I think calling is really the only option in this scenario. Like Brad said, pot odds exist. Will the opponent ever jam with a worse hand? Like ace-king. Maybe with a flush draw, maybe not. What about ace-8 suited that decided to get really frisky? What about ace-4 suited? What about flush draws? Like, any ace-x suited that has a flush draw, or some marginal king-x suited, like king-jack of spades. If your opponent's going to be jamming these hands, you absolutely cannot fold jacks getting almost 3 to 1 pot odds. You got to call and recognize you're going to be behind a lot of the time. Good call by Brad. I actually love the way he's played this hand.
You.
Once or twice?
Let's see here. The opponent has ace-king of spades. I'm thrilled to see that we got it in good, but we're not out of the woods yet. The opponent can hit 1 of 9 spades, or 6 cards that'll give him a better pair. He's going to win this 34% of the time. It's a pot of almost $18,000. It's the biggest cash game pot that I've played in a while. I've got 100% of myself with a big decision to make.
What decision would you make in this scenario if you were in Brad's shoes? Take a second. Think about it. Let me know what you would do in the comment section below in spots where you are playing for a pretty substantial pot. Most of the time when you're playing 10-20, the pot doesn't get up to 17,000. But, every once in a while it does. So yeah, take a second, think about it, and let me know what you do in the comment section below. And while you're down there, click the like and subscribe button if you like Brad Owen. Did you do it? Good. In scenarios like this, assuming you are properly bankrolled, the right answer is 1 time. Why is the right answer 1 time? It's because if you lose, because you're properly bankrolled and you are a decent poker player with a good mindset, will not care. But if your opponent loses, they may not be a good player with a strong mindset and a big bankroll, and they may go off the deep end. So as long as you know that you are a good, strong, mentally sound poker player who is properly bankrolled, you should not care about natural swings of the game. And yeah, you're not trying to go around losing, how many big blinds is this? I can't even count this high. 400 big blinds or 500 big blinds in a pot. That's not like a normal size pot, but at the same time, this kind of thing will make some players go crazy if they lose it. And if you know you're not going to go crazy if you lose it because you're sane, and your opponent will go crazy if they lose it, or that they even may go crazy when they lose it, 1 time is the right answer. Now, when should you not run it twice? Well, if you're not properly bankrolled, then yeah, run it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. You want to just cash out your equity. See the $17,530 in the pot? Brad owns 65.9% of it. 17,000 times 0.65 is what, 12,000-ish, 11,000 and change. He owns 11,000 and change of this, and he would really love to collect it. That's some amount that you do not want to be losing out of a bankroll that is too short. So if you're playing on a short bankroll, yeah, run it as many times as you possibly can. If you have a bad mental game, if you think that if you lose this pot, there's a chance you play very poorly, or even kind of poorly, because you're mad about short-term variance, which is inevitable, hopefully you know it's inevitable, then maybe you should run it twice. If you think your opponent will not care if they lose because they're a good, strong player, well, that's another time to run it twice, because all things equal, if you and your opponent are both good, strong players, and you know they're not going to go on tilt, I mean, that's the main benefit of running it twice. If they're not going to go on tilt, then might as well run it twice, right? It doesn't make a difference, because then you just want to cash out your equity. You'd rather minimize variance when possible if there's no cost. But there actually is a very big cost of minimizing variance if your opponent will go on tilt when they lose. Let's see what happens. Let's see what Brad decides.
Ultimately, I'm not here to chop pots. I'm here to win.
Let's just go once.
Ooh, 1 time.
It's better for the vlog.
We're going 1 time for everything. We're either going to win a massive pot to be up several thousand, or we're going to get stacked. It's all coming down to 1 card. The river is the deuce of clubs. It makes my heart sink to my stomach for a second before I'm able to process that it's not a spade. Running it once pays off big time. It's the largest pot that I've ever won at Wynn. We get a full double up from a talented player. The table won't let me get away with taking down the pot without cracking some jokes.
Good counter. Thanks. Yeah.
Maybe that hand isn't so bad after all. We somehow managed to get a fantastic run out and make the maximum after being a slight underdog on the flop and a decent favorite on the turn. Feels good to get all the way out of the hole and be firmly in Profitville.
It's nice to be in Profitville. It's nice to win with the pocket Jiggities. Huge congrats to Brad on the big hold. That's it for today. Hope you win with all of your hands. Bye-bye.